Addis Business Talk with Khalid and Marid on Afro FM 105.3. We'll be talking to policymakers, investors, business leaders, and entrepreneurs to bring you the latest development taking place in the Ethiopian economic and business climate, and more importantly, what it means to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. This is Addis Business Talk with Khalid and Merid every Thursday morning on Afro FM 105.3, the first all-English radio and podcast business show in Ethiopia. My name is Merid Bisrat, along with my co-host Khalid Mawi. Thank you for joining us. The show is brought to you by Pragma Investment Advisory, an investment management and advisory firm based in Addis Ababa, along with our partners, 251 Communications, a very prominent PR and marketing firm also based in Addis Ababa. Today we will be speaking with Melkamu Assefa, founding CEO and managing director at Marathon Motors Engineering PLC and vice president of Ethiopian Management Professionals Association. Marathon Motors Engineering PLC is one of the most prominent players in automobile manufacturing sector in Ethiopia, well known for its assembled Hyundai brand cars in Ethiopia. In our discussion with Melkamu, we'll be talking about Marathon Motors establishment, their journey so far, its success and challenges, and its visions for Ethiopian automobile sector. And we'll be talking about what should be done to revamp the automobile sector in Ethiopia in general. Melkamu, besides being a founding CEO, he's also a father of 3 children and a loving husband to Wezero Tigist Getachew. Melkamu Assefa, very warm welcome to Addis Business Talk, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show, and it's a pleasure of meeting you.
Pleasure,
At the
sir.
same time, I would like to extend to congratulate you for your successful launching of your show in the middle of pandemics and taking initiatives and challenges to contribute to our nation. And at the same time, I try to have few days, just jumping into the show. And you had interviewed multiple distinguished guests. That's more important. And I found it's most profound for the audiences at large to the nation. I'm so glad and honored to be on the show today. To contribute what I have personally, my journey on personally, and as institution, what really went through and the challenges and whatsoever, what you really raised the question is a glad and pleasure. So let's move forward as an automobile.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, speaking of journeys, let's start with your journey, sir. Let's talk about your early life and career. Tell us who's Melkamu Assefa. Tell us about your early life, your upbringing. Where were you born? Where did you go to school? I know that you had in your high school you loved to study chemistry and physics. If you just could tell us those journeys, and how did you join the automotive industry? Was it passion or was it a coincidence? I know that you started as a humble mechanic at Melkamu Motors. Tell us the different positions and companies you worked at prior starting Marathon Motors, sir. Let's start with that.
Yeah, you are taking me back to over 30 years where I don't know where to start, As I think to summarize and brief, before going into detail, I'm a young mission boy on foot to and from school for about 2 hours. Today, as a founding CEO, partner, managing director for the brand which is worldwide highly respected and a premium brand of Hyundai Motor Company. I'm so glad. Imagine a young boy who was on barefoot, 30 years before, today is owned automobile company and leading, managing, leading this company. Well, in brief, back to 30 years, as my career and my personal life story I can say, I could find it, it's a world-spending success story personally. And the institutions and the way I worked through is almost all is a private-oriented company. My first preschool, including middle school and high school, used to be an Sidamo, regional administration, and we call it that time, Sidamo Kefil Hadar, and now is a regional state. Very small city, but it's a fruity one. Apposto. In Italy, Apposto is a kind of, it's a point of station. We call it in Kela. So it was, it's going back and forth 2 hours, in the morning and back to home and staying. Finished, that's named, and preschool and middle school, I finished Jakarta 25 in Apposto. Then back to Yergalem, my high school life. Was around it was 87, 88. I took matriculation. I can say reasonably is, if not average, a very good student. Scoring for matriculation with a very good GPA. Then I joined Addis Ababa University. When I was in high school, I was a science student. As you said, loving a science fields, physics, chemistry, and labs. Was the intention, to be as a biochemist, in our country, the famous biochemist you might heard about, the famous biochemist is Getachew Boldia, professor, a doctor, yeah. That was my inspiration, Finally, it's changed. Today's Melkamu, today's CEO is changed to a business management and a marketing-oriented person. Well, I feel for that, career for physics and chemistry and sciences. That contributed a lot to the automotive career. In the 1991 or 1990, graduated from Addis Ababa University from the business management. That time was, it's a transition, it's a new era, it's a turning point, Immediately when I graduated, I joined a private company, it's named the Motor and Engineering Company of Ethiopia, is Moenco, as Toyota. I started a job, a graduate, but they put me with a necktie and a suit to sell cars. Imagine, it's a social science student, a management student selling cars. No clue about mechanical, no clue about electronics, no clue about engines, no clue about whatsoever, the cars have it. I get impressed, I get, shamed so in front of, customers. So I decided, changed, everything, my mind back to, taking a blue. Well, I have to decide whether to continue a blue collar or a white collar, be successful. So I went to mechanics. For the first 2 years, I can say the first year, and I really worked as clerk, as a mechanic and technician, because I have to equip my product knowledge, how to change tires, really how to fix cars, small, and explain engine capacity whatsoever, Then spending a year there and back to, to the counter and as a picker in spare parts. So then, and finally, then the transit, then clerical administration, then back to as a sales rep, which I was, appointed. So back to the table, then I felt it's comfortable now. I have something, just to do and to tell, to brief customers and to manage. Then a year after, I tried to, write in a book and a short title. It's not a book, a proposal, a kind of proposal, what was really in the working environment, the management styles, and what's going inside the engineering motor company of Moenco. Finally, I raised that issues, and back then I started communicating, selling the cars. That's, in short. But the challenge started, far away to Addis from Sidamo is about 300 kilometers and traveling for 4 years and back to come here and doing this. Finally, after spending 2 years spending in Moenco, I left the company and joined Nissan. Nissan is now the distributor, is Nayala Motors. Yes. Where I served as assistant sales manager for successful 3 years because there was, a reason why I left the company of Moenco, then joined there. There are issues, there was a conflict of interest between the professionals and those who are, lived for a year with with experience. But, the challenge was there, just one greatness after one greatness. You have to break a greatness after greatness. So I did join in Nissan. I served for 3 years. That time it was, Nissan became a market leader for consecutive 3 years, leading taking the share over Toyota. Spending there and working there and attending conferences, international and everything, and back to Moenco because there was a negotiation with the management staff of Moenco, and came back, loving. That's, my question was there, just offer me education, my master's, just whatever of career, accepted and back to Moenco. So that was one point is successful to the journey of is in 1993, I got married to wife as a Ortegist. That was a pillar in my right hand for today's success. Everything is totally changed. That's a journey what I have in brief, because we have to discuss and I have to brief, content is where, is helpful to the audiences. In short, it was my personal life story. Well, there are things which I will have it in the middle, So, in brief.
Absolutely, Melkamu. I think it's such a fascinating and inspiring story. Thank you very much for sharing. I know that Marid has gone over part of the introduction about Marathon Motors in the first part of the discussion, but I think if you could perhaps elaborate on when and how Marathon Motors was founded, what kind of business is it engaged in, what were some of the validating factors of the automotive industry to start a car import and distribution business that eventually became a large assembly plant. And I think many have wondered how the different levels of partnership between Marathon and Hyundai happened, and how difficult or easy was that process?
Yeah, thank you, Marid and Khaled. First, I think I have to give correction, since last 10 years, well, the establishment of the company in 2009, 2008, 9, I can say. Yeah. But always, on the social media and the mainstream medias, always broadcasting that, Marathon Motor is a JV between Marathon Motor and Hyundai. This is totally not acceptable, in short. Why? Marathon Motor is an indigenous Ethiopian company, 100%. I got today the opportunity, really, to rename it and to correct. I try to make, in multiple times on print medias, mainstream medias. I don't know why people say there's a JV. We like to be a JV, but Marathon Motor is an indigenous Ethiopian company, not a JV company. We'll come back to the JV, discussion about the JVs. Well, let me go back to how the establishment and the vision and how really is a roadmap for Marathon Motor. First, why Marathon? The name is Marathon is given. Why is our engagement with Hyundai Motor Company? These are the most important, Well, the year 2008, 2009, as all of us, we recall back to that year, the globe and the world is full of crisis with financial, economical, and social crisis. That time, no one really is tries, even plans to establish business because it's a mess in the world. Then Marathon Motor is the time. That was the year, that was the challenge we took to establish and form this company. I left the company, Moenco, in 2008, in September. Then we checked and joined the hands with the world-renowned hero, Athlete Haile Gebrselassie. Then we decided to form this company. That time, as I said, the challenge for financial, economical, and social crisis, you can't touch. It was a rocky, really so challenging. But we decided. How we decided? First, we have to work out on the roadmap, what's the name of the company? Marathon. Why is Marathon? Marathon is, it's a long history, is linked, associated with our country. Yes. Well, Sabebikala, the barefoot in 2 Olympics medals, and Mamo Walde. So we decided our journey or name of company to be fitted with a long way, a small, continuous, but a bigger goal, setting up in the name of Marathon. So we decided to form a company name is Marathon. Then the other one, very important, is that time in 2009, 2008, all of us, we remember that, athlete Haile broke a world record, less than 2 hours and 4 minutes. I think 2 hours, 3 minutes and 59 seconds broke the world record, yeah? It was held in Berlin, yeah. That's linked, that's linked, the name we linked that way. When we start this business, you need, as any business entity or any business unit, when you form a business, you have to plan what you have at hand. Yes. The resources, what we have at hand. One is the resource, what we have at hand was the highly respected brand, Hyundai. That was the resource, the first resource we have at hand. The name of Haile, a global brand name, is an hero we have at hand. My professionalism and experiences we have at hand, but small amount of money, how it works is linked. The fourth and the most important, what we earn it in, the confidence, the trust of our nation, our customer. We linked all these resources and set a vision. What was the vision? Decided, setting a vision, aiming to be the most customer-centric auto, retail, and assembler company in Ethiopia bounded. That was the vision. Then what comes? Mission, tactics, strategies. Because as a challenge starts, before us, Hyundai was, now globally, a brand is known, respected, but here locally in Ethiopia, the brand is almost dead. There were so many, in hundreds, if not thousands, customers, really, they hold the ownership for Hyundai cars, but no spare parts, no training center, no workshop, no resale value. It was really a brand dead in Ethiopia. The challenge starts how we need to change the old Hyundai name in Ethiopia to the new face of Hyundai. The challenge started. Imagine a month in front of our company competing with bigger companies in automotive firms, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, with highest economies of scale. Then we started struggling. That's how we started. Thanks to our customers, they helped us a lot. They trusted us a lot. Then we became successful. In 2009, we sold the first 30 units, I remember, with only, I think, just a fax machine, a computer, not luxury, like a kind of bench, chair, and table, with a very 4x4 room size office. This is how we started Marathon. Only 2% in the staff. It's truly assembling the cars. Yes, not assembling, but importing. In automotive, you have, it's a philosophy, we call it, CBU, SKD, and CKD. Well, that time, we were importing CBUs, that means completely built up units of cars. Then we started in bringing 30 units selling. I myself, I was a seller. I was, a kind of clerk accountant. I was a transitor. I was a technician. That was, step by step, smaller to bigger vision. Then we started employing. Today is about 500 employees. Today is about over 1 billion tax paying to our nation. Today is the standard set for Marathon Motor is the biggest in Africa, and assembling more than 12 models, including electric cars. Today is highly recognized by Hyundai Motor Companies, an elite distributor in Africa. This is what Marathon Motor. Anyway, let's back to why is we decided to work with Hyundai. We had a reason, in the automotive industry, the car started with the British, then in our country, go back to Fiat, go back to Land Rover, then back to Toyota, the Japanese, then it's coming, the history of cars, it comes, one is sucking the others, one is sucking the other, one after the other, it started with Land Rover and Fiat, then comes Toyota, then comes, today we are here. I don't know what happens in the future. The Chinese might, fled. We decided working with Hyundai. Hyundai was, that time, it's so vibrant and brilliant brand. Automotive companies all over the world, they lost the market share. They were in crisis in 2009, 2010 economic crisis. The only company is growing with 11% double digits was Hyundai. So we checked with Hyundai. We started and working. Today, everything is going beyond what we really set as a vision. This is why Marathon and why Hyundai. Then let me really put a little step by step the challenges we went through. One is changing the new face of Hyundai, shortage of working capital, shortage of spare parts center, and there is no road cars, there is no cars really running on the cars, there is no road marketing. There are so many challenges. We all really struggling all these challenges. Finally, we set really a step of foundation to plant the history for this Hyundai, because Hyundai slogan was at that time is a new thinking, a new possibility was the slogan. Then we are aligned and we are forced to really respect this slogan, and we were every month changing as new thinking and new possibilities idea. At the end of the day, then we are today where we are today.
Certainly a great story, Ato Melkamu. And thank you for clarifying the misconception about whether it was a joint venture or other type of partnership between Hyundai and Marathon. I think this is one of the most asked questions by the audience. A couple of months ago, as you very well know, Ethiopia showcased its first locally assembled electric car. Of course, Marathon and Hyundai were behind this milestone. This was a highly publicized event with none other than His Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed actually being gifted a Hyundai electric vehicle by Ato Haile Gebrselassie, who is of course the chairman of Marathon Motors. If you could perhaps share with us the motivation behind introducing electric vehicles to the Ethiopian market. How do you assess the potentiality of an electric vehicle industry in the country? And how does this play out with affordability and increasing the number of car ownership while promoting greening and climate resilience? I think many also wonder if this will entail perhaps logistical issues, such as whether charging stations and other power facilities will be required or not. What will be the repair and maintenance service options for electric vehicles going forward? What's your take on this, Ato Melkamu?
Yeah, thank you, my Khalid. When I always talk about the establishment of our company, I am so energetic, so I have to calm down my ways now. I'm also glad, this correction and this correction is today went to your show. I'm so glad. Be happy. So
same here.
Same here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's more about automotive. Our company, by the way, is beyond automotive. We have a reason why we say like that. Beyond automotive, because there are so many things we are working, through, and we went through all the journeys. The journeys behind, for the motivation behind for starting this automotive business. you can take, 30 or 65% of my life, is went through automotive. Nothing I have, the resources I have, the experience which I gained in automotive. Probably you can imagine how old am I, You can guess it. It's all well 30 years in automotive, including my school conference and conventions, all the ways experience what I have with my customers. So there is no passion, there is no motive behind that. I born with automotive, then I don't know, maybe I'm dying, of course, with automotive, if not back to chemistry and if not back to physics. Yeah. That's behind. So passionate about automotive anyway. So today, the stand of Marathon Motor, I'm not proud, but I really see it, I feel so comfortable when I see the position, the stand of our companies, pride alone, and doing what you love alone and working hard alone cannot guarantee, success. That's my philosophy. Because you should have at the same time, consistent fear and follow up, what really to be successful and break one greatness after the other greatness. As I said, the greatness started from that small town, we broke records, maybe highly broke by his, so many world records, about 29 or 30 or beyond that. And there are so many elite athletes in our countries also broke records. We broke records, on the investment of automotive company, a young 10 years. Imagine competing with 17 years old, 65 years old, 50 years old auto companies. So last year, it was so fascinating, when we inaugurated, inaugural ceremony of our assembly plant. Probably you might have heard about in the news, we are the first, who brought, the CEO and the CEO of Hyundai Motor Company globally. Mm-hmm. It was the first in Africa. No one has brought, even South Africa, no Egypt, no Nigeria, no bigger market. South Africa selling about 60,000 cars in a year of Hyundai only. Algeria the same, bigger economies, they sell a lot. We sell small units. We brought this CEO, it's not because of the number of the market share we sold, but the idea, the success story we showed, he's so fascinated. We invited, he was here, and he had a meeting with His Excellency, our Prime Minister, Dr. Abiy Ahmed. So that was, the turning point, we call it. Successfully launched. Our assembly plant is located here in Labu. It's in the compound of about 30,000 square meter, and under roof assembly plant is in 10,000. Today is assembling more than 12 models of Hyundai cars, from small car to the luxury segment of Palisade SUV, including electric cars, including the trucks. This is the only assembly plant in East Africa. You can't find. It's not only, the assembly plant, but, the equipment and the training centers and all the ethics and the morals, the employees, is totally really, it's a lesson, a great lesson to learn it here. So we brought technology, we brought appetites, we brought attraction, we magnetized it, to bring FDI. This is our success. Our success is not only invoicing, it's not only transacting, it's not only selling. We are not proud of that. We are beyond that. We are beyond automotive company. This is what, we are today is contributing. In 10 years, last year, we reset our vision. What was, the new vision? Today, we are implementing it, aiming to be a trendsetter automotive company in East Africa. Of course, we set a trend. How we set a trend? We really established a state-of-the-art and a modern and a fancy assembly plant. That's the trend. We started assembling electric car. That's the trend. We really established and equipped a modern training centers, about 4 or 5 training centers, a trend setter. We are taking, young students, prospective graduates from universities, from TVTs, taking every year every year 40, 60, and hundreds, giving them training on technical skills. Some of them are now became a family of marathon. The others certified and went and joined and got a chance for employment. There are so many things. It's beyond automotive what we are doing in terms of responsibility. It's a common name, it's corporate social responsibility. We are beyond that. There are so many things. If you take in our infant engine 2010, after is forming the company 2 years, we brought and donated is worth about 20 million per 2 trucks of mobile clinic to the Ministry of Health. We brought from Korea about 100 young Korean students and to build and renovate for the elder south around Cherkos. Then we did a lot of things which we should, I can't enumerate it, right now. So that was the idea, and finally, a year after we decided to launch electric cars, well, as you know, in July, we did it that, and we brought that the first car is as a pioneer for electric cars. That was, and so humbly, so passionately, so proudly for the electric cars. It was the instruction of His Excellency the Prime Minister. So he was so happy. Really, he was said so grateful. And in less than 2 years, in a year and a half, we did that achievement, for electric cars. So we started now on the way to making more EV cars. We call it EV cars, electric cars on the road. You would find it. Well, our intention is not only EV. Today, I have to, just hint some things, which was not in earlier medias. Probably you might find a few years after, hydrogen pumped cars. Hydrogen is also coming, which is already tested in Europe, in Denmark. Hyundai is successful. But a year and after, you will find so many affordable EV cars. The model we launched is Ioniq, then Kona is coming. Probably a year in a small, which is affordable, almost the same price of showroom price with a combustion or a thermal engine or combustion or a gasoline engine cars equivalent to such similar price range is coming. So it's a great opportunity today to really inform my audiences, be comfortable, no worry about, no more emission. That's we are fighting, zero emission, no pollution, low cost. So we'll enjoy, don't worry. A year after, so many EV cars are running. So the other challenge, challenging, is raised. It's a concern. I have to say, concern is raised by audiences or customers. Is about the charging station. By the way, we are working on it, but we came with a solution. The charging system for our EV cars are 2 dimensions. One is the household charging, which now we are using it. You can charge by any ordinary, household charger. That's what, we launched, in July. The other at the same time, we call it, a charging station, 2 quick charging in 30 minutes and 15 minutes. So you can charge it and you can drive a car about 300 and more than kilometers. But the household charger it's okay for you. You can charge 6 hours in the middle of the night or 2 hours, 3 hours, then you can drive. It's not a problem. So, but commercially, we are thinking we need to have a charging station. But to clarify, wishing or, is willing to have a charging station is one thing, but the other, you need investment. The investment for the charging station, you need transformer, minimum of 100 kV transformer. You need, and the internet infrastructure you need, because the payment system you should have, a dispensing machine. Either the payment on cash or card system. So we need infrastructure, we need location. I don't think that, we face a location. There are so many gas outlet stations. You can't really put a location there. And we have so many condos and apartments, Electric cars, charging station doesn't require that much, bigger spaces. You could put it in around 30 or 40 or 50 square kilometer, in places. So in the parking station, the apartment, the condos, these are the things we are working, but it's a compatibility is important. But the regulatory, institution should work with us and should support us. because the investment charging station is taking time. But I don't think that we'll make it launch it before January. For example, at least in our factory and somewhere in Bole, you will find a charging station in 2 places that we are working it right now.
That's very good to hear, Melkamu. And I must say that I'm, as a young Ethiopian, I'm very much excited to see an electric car being assembled here and being available in my market. I'm sure a lot of youngsters like me would share the enthusiasm. I mean, you're doing a very great job in terms of being the pioneer. So in terms of asking you a question, in terms of, let's ask you about the excise tax. As you know, the excise tax has been amended for the first time since its enactment almost two decades ago. As you know, the excise tax tried to encourage people to buy new automobiles in order to avoid second-hand cars. How has this affected Bharat Motors? Would you say it is encouraging to increase sales in your unit? Would you say it helps people motivate to buy new cars?
Thank you, Mehdi. Before that, I have to go back to these technicalities. Yes. Always, people say, I think Merid and Khalid and Melkamu as a person, as they know, as an individual, we deserve, eco-friendly cars. No doubt about it, Absolutely. We are, as a automotive industry, I can say so prudent and conservative industry. When we started, 80, we call it automatic transmission instead of a stick shift. When we started automatic transmission, people were so conservative. No way, no one will buy this car. Why? Because there is no technician, there is no skill power. We deserve really technology. Yep. Why? Ethiopians, we deserve technology. Merid deserves technology. Melkamu deserves technology. We started with 80. We started power window, central door lock, so many options, which you could find it easily in other continents. But here, people, the industry, and the nation is so conservative. We have to catch, we have to go, It's not, we shouldn't follow. If possible, we have to go, parallel with the technology. So that was the decision, this marathon, then now successfully others are now taking over and following. We are happy with the cooperation and the follow-up and the followers of others, As a nation, we deserve. So back to the question, you are now, I think, we are not finishing technicalities, but we are coming to the trading term. I think so this is one of the issue. Taxes always, in our country, the biggest portion of the cost is taxes, no doubt about it.
Yep.
Let me put in a simple way, in a simple term, if you spend 100 birr, about 70 is the tax. Only 30% of the value of the car is, the inputs, whatever the overhead, whatever the margin you put. So a breakthrough, I can say, is done in last February by our government, A very major decision is done. That will be left remain pending for many years, because we used to drive, cars which is really already dead cars, aging 30 years, 20 years, 40 years, bringing those cars from Europe and Middle East. Salvage cars, I can say salvage cars. The steering position technically, which is so dangerous, changing the steering body. We are left-handed, yes? Then right-hand drive steering is changed to left-hand drive and the number of fatalities and accidents in the last many years, if you compare it, so many resources wastage. We were spending hard currency. I think the most expensive resource we have at hand today it's not a gold, it's not a platinum. That's Forex, yes?
Yes.
We were spending the Forex. We spend the Forex, but we brought, old cars, sick car, very old cars, and bringing here the consumption of the spare parts, the consumption of the petroleum, the consumption of, the road efficiency. What have you? There are so many, I can enumerate hundreds of, I can say the diseases, so many diseases. Anyway, thanks government last year, our nation should enjoy brand new cars. Today we are selling the same as, the car, you can find it in our showroom, the same price with the Vitz, the old Vitz. It used to be before the excise tax, It was about 900,000, close to 1 million. Now we are selling about a border of 700,000. New car, brand new car with automatic transmission. This was really a great initiative. And I can say still, the prices, the middle class affordable cars, still the price is high. But the price is high because of the exchange rate. The taxation is fair. It was 30% before, changing the excise tax. Today is 5%. So 25% of part of the cost is lifted up to benefit the nation. We are happy. You can see many new cars. So the impact of new cars, you save on the road, you save on the gasoline, you save on spare parts. At least you will have a peace of mind, a pleasure of mind of driving, at least for the coming 10 years. New cars. This is advantage, which we are now started enjoying for the engine capacity up to 1.3 liters. But taxation categories depending on the engine capacities. Up to 1.3, there is excise tax, which is now is 5 per year, it will be 30%. Beyond 13.1 to 1800, I guess it's 60%, which is still bigger, of course, bigger. Now it's more bigger because the mode of calculation is changed to the invoicing instead of importing. And the other from the engine capacity, 1.8 liter and above is 100% still. I can't say because as a nation, we are still not yet, because the bigger engine means you consume a lot of energy. A lot of energy means a lot of petroleum, a lot of gases, a kind of luxury, So I think that's why government said, excise by definition means luxury. If you drive a car, above an engine capacity is 1.3, it's luxury. So you have to pay for the petrol. It means that you can afford. So the decision and the initiatives taken by the government is so attractive. For us, it's good. For the nation, it's good. So we are also trying to, working on to export cars for neighboring countries, which are aligned with left-hand drive countries. So we are working. We might bring, very soon hard currency to our country. And we are now availing models very affordable. We are happy. So it's a great initiative, I can say, but a lot of things to be done. When it comes to the EV cars, electric cars, no excise tax. That's the privilege. People are thinking about, the EV cars is not affordable. Please, it's so affordable. There is only a slight difference between the gasoline engine and the EV cars prices of the same segment. I can mention an example. You may know about, Elantra. We call it the C segment class cars, which is Elantra is selling about is 2 million per, I guess 2 million per, yes. But the EV cars Ionic, which we launched a better performance, the same segment, we are selling a order of 2 million. But when it comes to EV cars, you don't have overheads, just only the kilowatt. Probably if you drive in 10 years, you spend about more than $500,000 for gasoline, but for the electric with the kilowatt, probably less than $50,000. And the inspection, the maintenance, and the overhead cost. You visit the workshop probably once in a year for EV cars. For the gasoline cars, probably 3 times, 4 times. Changing filters, which is pollution. Changing oils, which is pollution. There are so many advantages. That's why we are rushing, and we are really rushing as much as possible. We are running to make our roads and zero emission on the road to benefit our nation.
Yeah, no, thank you for your elaborative insight on that, Melkamu. I think that was one of the most comprehensive and substantial insights that were given about the potential of electric vehicles for Ethiopia. And I think your explanation on the tax implications and the different levels of price points, the comparative nature between EVs and regular hydrocarbon cars is something that a lot of people were curious about. And I think we'll discuss further on kind of the policy related question. But I think coming back to what you've said earlier about the importance of training, especially students and then the graduate pool, both from here and from Korea educated young people as well. You're working with a South Korean multinational automotive manufacturer. You may know the imperative of South Korean industrialization. Post Second World War, I would say, was largely driven by the promotion of technological learning, backward linkages, and translative adaptation of international best practices. I would say the Koreans, they made sure that the Korean nation was able to gradually take those lessons and indigenously produce their own cars, and not only to accommodate to the local market, but to also export world-class cars and vehicles to different parts of the world. I'm curious if Marathon finds inspiration in this to the effect of allowing Ethiopians to learn and to adapt and to have its many workers under it become champions of industry, so that our country can one day be able to fully produce its own vehicles and other high value assets. What's your take on that?
So interesting. Thank you, Merit. Well, as a Koreans, a coin of two faces to me. I worked with Koreans and Japanese, about 12 years with Japanese, and the rest of my career till today is with the Koreans. When we talk about Koreans, 70% of their geography, their land is mountainous, as we all of us know.
Yes.
What made Koreans, is exception in the world is the human resource, which is very important, the human resource, the education, the attitude, the working, the hard working and determination. Really, you have a lot of things, to learn as a lesson, a great lesson from Koreans. Mm-hmm. The decision we went, 10 years before with Koreans, with Hyundai, is one of, the determination and courage we decided to take, with the courage, in addition to the courage, strong courage we have with the athlete Haile. Haile's commitment when he broke, in Sydney, we all of us, remember, is beating, target, with a small margin, that's the courage always I take as, determinant. If you have a courage and determination, you can break and you can win. You can win. The same thing, it comes to Korea, as a nation. We learned a lot. Let me go back to 2009. It was a year of inception for our company. We call it a year of inception. You have to plant any business. When you start a business, I always say, a mother, feeding her newly born baby. The mother can't leave, her newly born baby, she has to feed it, She has to feed it, and the parents should follow and nurture, and you have to have close follow-up. Otherwise, a baby is not a baby. It starts all the project in the womb, yeah? The same thing, the project starts for the business. When you start, you have to have a great idea and a great determination, a great follow-up, a great, nurturing style, similar to the biological growth of human being, the same as business. So we started inception of the year in 2009. We tried to incept it, we tried to seed, implant it. Then 2010 was a year of earning, selling papers and selling labors and workshop. We started earning. Its growth is coming, earning, confidence of customer. The third year, when we come to there, was the year of assertion. Assertion is the most important. We get assertion and confirmation from Hyundai Motor Company and as a nation from Korean. They decided to work. Whenever the Koreans work with Ethiopian, it's beyond a business relationship. There is also human relationship. Historically, we have something beyond the business with Koreans. They helped us a lot. In a business also, we learned it's a great lesson with them. So the Koreans, the first cars, if you if you get the chance, or I will invite you probably after holiday to have in the showroom, there is on the wall a big poster there, a banana exchange of the first car exportation with Ecuador in the Korean they did. Probably you may know about the name Pony, Hyundai Pony, the first car.
Yes.
It was in 1968. They exported with a bunch of banana with a container of cars sending to Ecuador. That was a bartering, exchanging. Because that time, Hyundai started its own engine. People say low-cost car, cheap cars, no one is buying. Like you did to be, the Japanese, a Japanese guy is like this. Something like that, it used to be Korean, the same style. Finally, they bartered it. No currency, no Korean won, no dollar to Korea, but sending cars, then getting back to banana. How it is started, determination. It's commitment, dedication. They took always, their time is a currency of life. They're really highly determined. This is how we started in Marathon, the same thing. The Koreans today, if you go and browse, the automotive industry, on the top list from, gasoline engine, hybrid engine, electric, full electric in multiple models, then hydrogen. No one in the automotive firm globally came up with hydrogen fuel, sail fuel, we call it. So in 45, 47 years on the top of the industry. That's dedication and commitment of the Koreans, the passionate, how they handle it, how they do it. Today, all the segments of Honda cars is 5-star, which is always certified and tested and accredited in the Detroit. Detroit is like, Silicon Valley of chips, like it's in Michigan. All automotive firms, they get ratings there. All our models are 5-star segments. Because how you test this? No recall, no accident, no recall with Honda cars. You can't find, recall in Honda cars in the history. Probably, I couldn't mention, brands. So many brands were recalling back to, customers. Because of there are some things are missing in quality. In Hyundai, you don't find this all. So precision, so quality, resource within resource. Hyundai has its own steel company. They change the soil to ore to steel and sheet metal, then their own engine, their own logistics, their own banks, their own ships, then supply chain end to end. This is what makes them highly competitive and quality in the world globally. We have a lot of things to learn with Koreans. This is what is Marathon doing. As I said, what we had at hand resources. Those were the resources we have at hand. The brand name of Hyundai, then the brand name of our hero Haile, trust for customer, professionalism, experience, and the confidence of our customer. We align all resources. Today we are on the top. So the same determination, the same courage, and the same consistent fear. I always say, hardworking and loving what you do alone cannot guarantee you success. You should have consistent fear on each and every single operational activities, because you meant to serve at the end of the day to make a happy or to have pleasant customer, to offer pleasure of mind driving, because don't forget that you are swimming in the middle of the ocean. The ocean is a customer. The ocean is the nation. So try to think all broad, concepts. If you think that what you do always is today, you always get hungry. Koreans always say, hurry up. That means in the Koreans, because they are always targeted, the Koreans, hurry up. Yeah. Today I don't have, I am hungry. If you get, satisfied and full of today, what about tomorrow? You should think, you should have a mentality of every day, I am hungry. If you do that, the courage and the commitment, no doubt, it's not a sky, the space may be the limit. So let me come back to in 2012, in the year of, realization. When we call realization of the year in Marathon successful journey, realization is started, is by all, Korean travelers and businessmen. We brought so many, probably His Excellency of the Ambassador of Koreans always, he tells me, you Marathon guys working, is more than us, because it's because of you. There are so many Koreans are visiting Ethiopia. We brought appetite. We opened, appetite for this country. We showed, really as a magnet. So year of realization, we showed a lot of things. Then response. When I say response, you have to give back what you got from the nation. We were responding, things which there are so many things which I didn't mention, earlier. We even, donated a car of a minibus 12-seater to street children to Addis Ababa City Administration recently from the one which we assembled here. There are so many things which we do. But if you stretch your hands, if you give back to the nation, really, you are in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of the sea. You can swim, you can relax. So dedication, determination, if you consider your time as a currency of your life, if you really meant for the career which you develop together with the experience and the passion and the energy, you can do a lot. You should have wisdom. That's what we are doing, Probably, I don't know, you may raise, question about COVID. I don't know, you might have a point to raise. I have a lot of things about COVID. Probably I have to pen it, if you have anything, so raise it about COVID, If asking me, are you happy with the COVID or are you feeling something, dark face?
We were about to actually, yes.
All right, okay. Yeah.
Automaka, before we go to the COVID question, because you raised a very good point in terms of eloquently putting the Korean experience of their early day times in terms of exporting their own brand. On this show, Automaka, we kind of sort of challenge, especially if they are a CEO, a business leader, we sort of challenge them with a policy question. If you were become a policymaker, let's say if you were the Minister of Trade and Industry of Ethiopia, or if you sat down with the Council of Ministers, how would you recommend, how would you advise, or if you were the minister, what kind of actions would you take the next day to reform or to alleviate the challenge of the automobile sector here in Ethiopia? What would you do differently in terms of not only we assembling the well-renowned brand car like Honda doing what Marathon's doing here in Ethiopia, but also coming up with our indigenous brand here in Ethiopia and pushing the industry further and to see our cars, Ethiopian brands in our neighboring countries like Kigali, Nairobi, and Dakar. What would you do differently if you were the Minister of Trade and Industry?
Yeah, thank you, Maria. So I know I'm so happy and comfortable to remain as where I am to give it.
I'm sure you say that.
Anyway, let me just give you insight about it. Automotive, is I always define automotive, as a motive, behind for all economies. It's a transport sector.
Yes.
It's self-propelling. Moving the economy. Just sprinting the economy. So in the automotive, I said earlier, three components that are, CBU, SKD, and SKD. CBU is a kind of merchant mentality, which we used to have, selling and trading, for the last probably for a decade, since we started, importing cars to Ethiopia. It was a CBO. Most of now in the firms in the auto industry of Ethiopia now is a CBO business is handling all the cars you find in the corner, all over the corner is a CBO cars, bringing and putting there and selling and getting money. That's no job. That's no job. Mm-hmm. So you have to change in mind to SKD. This is what we did in 10 years, as a vision. SKD. When we call SKD by itself, it's a bigger and a greater concept, So from CBU, then SKD, it's semi-knockdown. Knockdown. It's a component about probably over 100 or 150 of component parts of a car, because the cars has about in thousands of spare parts, at the end of the day as a unit, like a unit is moving on the road, you see, wow, these cars. But if you see what are really the systems, the organs, the cells, you can say as a human being, it's biologically, we have cells, we have organs, we have systems, yes? We have circulatory system, we have respiratory system, we have a digestive system. But all this, the cumulative effect of organs gives you a system. It comes to the system in transport systems. So SKD, we started SKD. Now SKD, what brought SKD? What's the contribution of SKD? Technology, training, competitive price. Yes? Because you cannot jump from CBU to CKD. No way, because you have to evolution. You have to kaizen yourself from CBU to SKD to CKD. Well, for your question, as reforming this industry, automotive industry, when you start SKD, think about, those young students, skilled students. You have to bring, cope with them and bring them, teach them, give them skill, give them wisdom, give them moral, give them ethics.
Yes.
You can do it. Today, 100%, you can find non-Ethiopian in our plan. Almost all Ethiopian young students, their age is up to 30, assembling, fixing the cars, putting on the road. We are happy for excitement of 12 luxury models, high-tech models. They are working. We can do it. It's only, mentoring. It's only, training. This is what we are doing. So, SKD, for how long you bring SKD components and KD parts from abroad? You should have your, small scale enterprises. Yes, micro, small, medium, then large, heavy industries. So in our country, we have all those, by name we have it, but action-wise, probably practical and pragmatic-wise, like your name, we should have those small infant industry. We call it in Amharic Egojo industry. That's how Japan, that's how other world, that's how Korea is today's position. Because if you take the component of cars, 100 parts, like filters, like knobs, like power window, like AC, you can make it here. If you put me in that position, I try to, today probably you are earning money, but to be sustainable and to have your own brand, you should work on youngsters. Give them skill, give them education. Money is a paper, money is a finance. They will bring more money in the future. Give them money because you are working for the nation. So the nation is a new generation. For this new generation, if you send them to the college, to the universities, then after graduation, you have to give the platform, financing, skill, education, send them training, bring here, then start small business. Filter element, you can produce. Suspension element, you can produce. The molding element, you can produce. You should have this policy. At the end of the day, you are aiming to build heavy industries. If you take Hyundai is a brand name, yeah? At the end of the day, what we do? If we live with Hyundai, we decide to be what? JV. Then JV comes with the bigger industry, the heavy industry, because we own, we share their brand name. Yes, we own, we share their engine, the investment, the royalty. There are a lot of things to be paid for outsiders, but our aim is not to remain and live and die with Hyundai brand. We need to have Ethiopian brand. We need to have cars to be produced, marathon cars, otherwise Africans, to be produced in Ethiopia, but exported to Africa, the name Afri. This is how you have to engage, you have to plant, you have to input your policies, reforms. Otherwise, no way. You should have multiple factories, multiple fingers of policies, Gojo industry, we call it, a small scale, which is highly skilled, highly mentored. So you have to come up with that. Otherwise, you continue being dependent. How long? No way. If you ask me, this is a way how we transform the country. This is a way how we contribute to the country. This is, by the way, what Marathon is doing now. We decided probably next year, producing filter element here, battery here, tires here. You have to synchronize. You have to put together to produce organs, then to system, then to the nation. This is how we should, the Koreans and the others, developed nation is going. It's like, small steps, not revolution, but a bigger goal, change the culture, change the organization. You lead the change, not the organization, because, always. Otherwise, if I come every morning to the office, if in my mind, if I always think, why are you, Melkamu, going every morning in the office? To lead marathon? No way. To lead a change. I don't know the change, what really faces me every morning. So many changes. So think about, pragmatic, open, and think about a small, but, summation, if you like, a synergy. we always say in mathematics, 2 + 2 is equal to 4. But in policy, in social science, honestly speaking, no, I can argue this. No way. 2 + 2 is 4 in mathematics. But no, because no in social science. So this is, the mind we should have it as a nation, as a policymakers. So anyway, there are so many things which we cannot really enumerate all. We cannot enlist out all these things. We might have differentiation about the policies issues.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's a lot more to cover about that. But yeah. that was, I think, personally, a brilliant, very, very useful set of advice and great food for thought for our policymakers there that you have talked about, Melkamu. And I think we need to keep promoting this culture of dialogue between experts and private sector and on our policymakers and the state in general. So thank you very much for that piece of advice.
Yeah, pleasure.
I think because of time constraints, we will wrap it up by giving you the chance to talk about the COVID-19 situation and how it has impacted you as an entity, as the automotive industry in Ethiopia, and overall, what's your take on the implications of COVID-19 in Ethiopia?
Yeah, this COVID, I think in my life, time, the only virus or the only virus that shut down the world or the globe, putting us all locked down. Sometimes, I get really when I think it's so mess, why we put the masks in mouths, the COVID telling us, shut your mouths, get focused. That's all. My conclusion, Shut your mouth, don't talk too much, focus on the work, on the job. That's the COVID, But the COVID has, brought probably, I gave interview on FANA some 3 months before, how the business community, the business leader, all my friends, should, live, should we live or should we refrain back, feeling that, the virus? Because we need to think about it, We should respect disciplines of COVID, but we can live. Sometimes, when we talk about challenges, this is a challenge, of course. It appeared in our history. So we have to face it. No way to refrain, no way to go back. You have to find the way. There is no always, a carpet which you walk on, you run. So you need to think about it, how to live and sustain and move. Otherwise, this is a pandemic. You should have a pandemic plus strategy to defeat a pandemic. You shouldn't have, equal strategy. When we started, the COVID in March, I remember, in our company, we automatically decided, because our urgency and importance metrics, there is no quadrants there. The only quadrant, the 4 quadrants, we merged all quadrants, then the priority is the COVID. We have to defeat, we have to fight it. How we defeat, how we fight, respect discipline. But you shouldn't stop working, You shouldn't stop. Otherwise, you are getting, the COVID is defeating you. So try to really have, instead of long vision strategy, change the organization culture, because we all changed the culture, we used it to have because of the COVID, because we enumerated or counter or faced a huge costs of overhead, because no one was, consider this much percentage of pandemic. As a business leader, always, we forecast, a kind of certain percentage of political risk, certain percentage of economic risk, certain social risk, something like you can put it in the plan lists. But this time, no one, like COVID or pandemic can impact us, a kind of percentage. Finally, what we decided, we change organizational cultures, how we behave, how we have to respect, how to really, serve the customers, how really keep our service, how do we contribute to the nation. We did a lot of things. So remaining the mission, the vision, remaining with the vision, because you shouldn't change the vision, because otherwise you already defeated it. Means to me like that. So the COVID will, even if, I don't think that, if we get, a solution soon, even if we get, I think we have to, know that we live with it. But we live with it, But for those who are really how we survive, if take our performance of this year, it's a plus of a marginal, figure, because we really, bridged and we try to, pass all those things, especially in the last quarter of which is April, May, and June. We close our budget year in June, then started the first quarter, July, August, and September. Now in the middle of first quarter, so it's you can make it. You can make your own. Consultation. You have to level down yourself. You have to get informative to your employees, and you should have a guarded heart. You have to accept the pain. You have to accept the limitation. You have to have tactics every day, not strategy. Otherwise, no one is certain about what the impact of COVID, when the COVID is going to be end. So till then, we need to have tactical instead of long-term vision and strategy. The vision is there, but the strategy, you need to have that. Yeah. Challenges, business leaders, and you should understand and slow down. This is the time you cooperate and you share and you stretch your hands. At the end of the day, as a businessman, you work, you profit, maybe okay. At the end of the day, the good thing in the balance sheet is human resource, your employees, your nation. Yeah. Why I work, at the end of the day, I have to give back to the nation. So you have to be, understand. You should have wisdom. You have to be communicative from bottom up, top bottom. You have to level yourself. You have to feel emotion. You have to, no logic, no strategy this time. Tactics, and for tomorrow's better strategy, embracing that, the COVID. So limitations there, I'm today's Jagna. I have to go with my plan. I have to go with such a target. No way. That's not. Change your gear in the language of automotive. Change your gear and remain with it. So you can. I don't think that, otherwise we really leave ourselves behind. We have to fight. We have to live it. We have to work. We have to get wisdom. We have to cooperate. So this is what we are now, working and we are practicing in our company.
Very, very practical and concrete recommendations, I think, with an importance of prudent emotional intelligence as well. Melkamu, thank you very much. I would say comfortably that you are one of the most energetic founding CEOs and managing directors.
Absolutely.
Especially in this scenario, of course, of Marathon Motor Engineering PLC. Thank you very much for joining us here on Addis Business Talk and for sharing your story as a prominent business leader and the story of Marathon, of course, as part of the business empire that the great Ato Haile Gebrselassie has built as a national champion. Maybe if you know what the Koreans would call a chaebol, referring to the national champions in their countries. So thank you very much, Ato Melkamu, and we hope to see you on the show again.
Yeah, it's a great honor. I do believe that it's a world-spending journey and success. Well, at the end, I wish all to the nation and Ethiopia and the year which is now, we are on the eve of the year. I'm also grateful and honored to be to give this interview. Probably 2-3 days left for turning,
Yeah, the new year.
Yeah, I wish all the best, like wisdom, cooperation, peaceful country, prosperous countries to our nation. I hope that no doubt, I'm so confident and optimist, we'll see a bright nation, a bright picture, in our countries, which is a country which is most loved by its nation, even by its enemy. I wish for our countries to be loved by enemies. Sometimes, enemies doesn't love you, but I wish my country to be loved by her enemies. Thus, let's pray to God. We all kneel down, pray to God. God will fill everything to the heart. We have to be open-minded. We have to be, very good attitude-oriented, peaceful, prosperous countries. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best for the coming year. Thank you, Merit. Thank you, Khalid.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much.
This has been Addis Business Talk with Khalid and Merid every Thursday morning from 7:30 to 8:30 on Afro FM 105.3. For important updates, follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @TalkAddis. On LinkedIn and Facebook, simply search for Addis Business Talk. Addis Business Talk.